Joining me now is Tatum Hunter, a personal technology reporter for The Washington Post, and Irene Carmon, a senior correspondent at New York Magazine. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being back with us again. Tatum, I'm glad to have you back because we touched on this a little last weekend, but I want to get into it a little more specifically. In the passage that I just read, you say the conversation around adoption doesn't reflect reality. So tell me a little bit more about your reality, being pregnant as a teenager and going through the adoption process.
So when I was pregnant as a teenager, I had to continue going to high school. And one thing that we, kind of forget about in this conversation is that even though adoption provides a place for your baby to go, that person has to be a person experiencing a crisis pregnancy for 9 months. And we're not kind to people experiencing crisis pregnancies. And so I placed my baby for adoption, and then I had to go on and live my life. And I think that's the second thing that people forget, is that that placement isn't the end of the story. That woman lives the rest of her life in experiencing grief and experiencing it in silence, because we also put a lot of pressure on birth mothers to keep everyone comfortable about adoption by not speaking to their grief, their pain, and their experience.
Right. It's not cocktail conversation, right? It's not something you bring. I mean, you've written about it eloquently, but it's not the kind of thing you just bring up and talk about.
Exactly. If I'm in the workplace, for example, and someone has adopted a baby, or even if someone is an adoptee themselves, that's something that our culture has made room to discuss and even celebrate. But the experience of birth mothers, not the same. And it speaks volumes about where our empathy starts and ends.
Yeah. An issue I think a lot of people don't even think about, so I'm glad that you brought it to our attention. Irene, your powerful description of your own pregnancy runs counter to how pregnancy is typically idealized in popular culture. In fact, one study about pregnancy talks about how we romanticize it, and that can contribute to how society treats birth mothers. When we glamorize pregnancy, how do you feel like it contributes to the misinformation around abortion care?
Well, look, I mean, I want to honor Tatum's experience, which is different from my experience personally. I'm currently 34 weeks pregnant, and it's a very wanted pregnancy, and it's my second, and it's one I chose. This is different from the coercion and loss of dignity that comes with somebody being pregnant against their will. And I think one reason to step back here and go back to those words of Amy Coney Barrett is, yes, absolutely, it is the erasure of the danger, the physical encroachment of pregnancy that's happening, what happens to your body, which was what I focused on in my essay. You mentioned maternal mortality. When Amy Coney Barrett mentioned this in oral argument, the attorney for the clinic said, not only is maternal mortality catastrophically high in the United States, in Mississippi, where this law that they were looking at came from, it is in fact 75 times more dangerous to carry a pregnancy to term than it is to have an abortion. And we know that that is disproportionately women of color in Mississippi, disproportionately Black women who are going to experience this. So even the most privileged and the most chosen pregnancy involves a huge amount of risk and life-changing. And I think it's also important to flag that the dissent recognized this. So the dissent written by the 3 Democratic appointees said not only do very few individuals who are denied an abortion choose adoption, but also it doesn't take care of the fact that there's a real violation of dignity here. They say whether or not they choose to parent, they will experience the profound loss of autonomy and dignity that coerced pregnancy and birth always impose. So it's important to flag that there are physical risks here, but there's also a loss of individual autonomy that comes when the state takes that power away from the individual. And that's not to say that adoption can't be beautiful when it involves informed consent on an individual level, but on a systemic level, it doesn't solve the problems that lead people to seek abortion, and and taking it away and imposing it on people, which has long been a goal of the anti-abortion movement, certainly imposes an additional harm on a person, regardless of whether they end up choosing adoption or to parent or something else.
Tatum, I want to read something else from your essay about the people, the adults around you. You were quite young at the time. Adults around you. You say the people most confident in their helpfulness also tended to be the most destructive. My pastor asked me to get on stage at church and share my testimony, how God was working in my life despite my mistake while I was still pregnant. The question of whether it is kind to ask a teenager to process that in front of a crowd was never raised. Pregnant teenagers were a spectacle to be pitied, advised, discussed, and overall enjoyed. Tell me a bit more about this.
I think it's important to remember that if we didn't want people to experience crisis pregnancies, we could address that with better education and better access to birth control. But we don't do that. And the way that we treat people experiencing crisis pregnancies is a little bit like a circus, not the fun kind, the scary kind. And so I think that that's important to keep in mind, that as people in crisis pregnancies move through the world, they don't get the impression that everyone is rallying to help them carry that pregnancy to term and give themselves and the baby a good life. And my experience was a real mixed bag of people being incredibly kind, people being incredibly cruel, and people thinking that their kindness was helping when it was actually harming. So one thing that I hope people take away is that you're not doing pregnant people a favor by being friendly or kind to them. They are valuable and they deserve that as a baseline. So if you can't give them that, stay far away from them. And if you can give them that and you're ready for the next level, start worrying about their financial security and their mental health. Look at the person in front of you and worry less about whether their lifestyle and their dreams for the future align with yours. Worry about loving and serving the person that you're looking at. And I gotta say, I wish that my parents and my son's mother were here on this show with me today, because I think they're exemplary in that way. And as the years and the decades go on, the four of us have had to figure this out together. And I think that it's a big deal that they've made space for my voice in that story, even though it's not particularly cheery. And I think that if everyone were like them, we'd have a much healthier landscape for this discussion.
Tatum, I'm glad. I didn't feel that we had a full conversation about this last week, and I'm glad that you were able to come back and share this with us. I guarantee that both of your perspectives are not perspectives that we explore fully enough in this discussion, so I'm grateful to you both for sharing them with us. Irene Carmon is a senior correspondent at New York Magazine, the co-author of the New York Times bestseller Notorious RBG, The Life and Times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Tatum Hunter is a personal technology reporter with the Washington Post.